What are subtle red flags at a job interview that say working here would suck? I brought up a company's awful Glassdoor reviews and they got so mad they ended the interview. Well, guess I dodged that bullet. When you ask, what do you like about working here, and the interviewer talks about the location of the job, it's a great place to live, instead of the actual job. I asked this at one of my first interviews right out of school. My interviewer went, "That's a good question," and was ruminating for a good 2 minutes. She went with, "We get pretty good parking spots," and quickly followed with, "And the people are nice." People are nice is actually a good one. Sometimes can be the only real reason that the work doesn't outright suck. I once turned down a job offer because they mentioned that the previous person in the position had quit after a few months, and most of the people I interviewed with seemed stressed out. I did the same. During the interview, they told that in the last 2 years, they had 8 people in the position, for 8 months at most. It was a good offer, and a job I would like, but I cannot believe that 8 people in a row were lazy, not good enough or bad at their job. I didn't accept the job offer. Edit, let me clarify. I meant that I could not believe that they were all lazy or bad, but that there was something strange going on with the position. They specified that none of them was fired. They all left for their own decision. I quit my job after 8 months. When I asked, they didn't tell me why the last person quit. My manager acted like it was a new position. Turns out the person before me had quit after 8 months also. You'll get full-time hours but won't be full-time, aka we'll do everything in our power to avoid giving you benefits even though we have you working more than 40 hours in a week. I once worked in a grocery store, under a union, hired for part-time. Consistently, was scheduled 40 a week until the 3rd week of the month, then I worked 39 hours that week. It kept them from giving me benefits. You should be considered full-time at 35 hours. Edit, 30 hours, not 35. It is actually 30. Here is what it says on the IRS website for purposes of the employer shared responsibility provisions. A full-time employee is, for a calendar month, an employee employed on average at least 30 hours of service per week, or 130 hours of service per month. Wait, if 30 hours is full-time, how are so many people not getting full-time benefits with the 38 hours BS? My husband has been trying to get full-time at Best Buy for over 3 years now. He more than definitely averages more than 30 a week. Collect a few months of pay stubs and call BOLI. Dumb question, what's BOLI? Thank you BTW, edit, husband just informed me that's why they give a random week of low hours after so many weeks. Frown. Bureau of Labor and Industry, generally who to call if your job screws around with your pay and other not cool things. We only want the best of the best. Me, how much are you paying? Minimum wage. Salary, competitivist reality, minimum wage. Salary, competitive reality, competitive to sweatshops. Always ask the interviewer about the last person who worked the position you are interviewing for, how long they worked, and why they left. Their answers can be very telling of the work environment. Absolutely. It feels wrong initially to pry, but you have every right to know the circumstances you're walking into, within reason. If they volunteer that information, that's a good sign. I came in for a job interview at 7:30 p.m. The entire staff was still in the office. Should have known right then that 9 to 5 was not ever going to happen. One day I worked until 2:30 a.m. to finish up a big project, and my boss said to me I could come in an hour later the next morning. Gee thanks bro, with my public transport travel time that gives me a solid 2 hours of sleep instead of just the 1. I had to work till 6 a.m. into the next day and slept until 11 a.m. and logged in as soon as I could, and my senior still had the audacity to ask me why I logged in so late. She knew I logged out at 6 a.m. because I sent an email with an update. These guys do not care about your health. I don't regret for a minute about leaving that job. You are required to wear clothing that has the company logo. You must purchase it yourself. From the company. This is illegal in most states, unknown about outside the US. Wait, really? This happened to me in Ohio. They also said I had to give it back. I didn't. Lol. Lamau, they wanted you to purchase it and give it to them once you left. That's absurd. That's funny because that's actually happened to me recently. I laughed and told them to go duck themselves. Lol. I had a security job that I quit once. They demanded I bring back my uniforms. I asked if they had a check ready to pay for them. When they claimed it was company property and they were going to call the cops, I calmly explained that I still had the pay stub showing my payroll deductions for my uniform purchase, listed on the stub exactly as that. I told them I would gladly give them the uniforms back, because I didn't want them, but I want my $200 back. Never heard from them again. Aha! I had someone tell me the same. I never did cause F them. I thought they'd contact me but didn't. But I did buy the shirt so. This actually happened to me. Interviewer, do you have any questions for us? Me, what is a challenge this department has recently faced? Interviewer, job security. I didn't know it at the time, but you'll be wearing many hats was a sign that they were going to give me the work of 4 positions and the wage of 1. I didn't last a year there before I left, and now I won't even finish reading job ads that include that line. That's a non-profit motto if I ever heard one. It's also a tech startup motto. And a hat modeling agency motto. We don't like clock watchers here. We expect everyone to be committed. Expecting more work for no extra pay. Getting mad at you when you leave at 5 even though your stated work hours end at 5. Well, then you won't mind if I come in at 9:30. You're not watching the clock, after all. They don't like it when you watch the clocks. Their clock watching is only natural, of course. Do as I say, not as I do. I once showed up for an interview and the manager wasn't there that day. No one called me to let me know. The assistant manager was not apologetic for the scheduling issue at all. She was literally just like, "Oh, she's not here today," in a tone that suggested I should somehow already know that. She said they would call me to reschedule sometime the next week. I told her I was currently unavailable MW but could come in any time THF. She said if I couldn't make time for the interview, I probably wouldn't be a good fit. I said okay, and went on to my other interviews and ending up working elsewhere. You'd think that would be the end of it, but both the manager and the assistant manager badmouthed me to a few other people in the industry, including one of my friends. Hello. I made time for an interview. You disrespected me by not calling me to let me know it was cancelled. I gave you the times I was available to reschedule, and that was disrespectful somehow. I would be livid. Definitely shows a complete disregard for your time. Had an online interview with a company a few years ago. Was interviewed by the regional manager, seemed like a normal interview. Halfway through, he let slip that there were 6 other people from his company watching and listening in, but the software was set up so I could not see or hear them. And he actually got a kick out of telling me this. It was like being on a first date with someone, and finding out later she had a hidden camera on her and her parents and 6 other family members were watching the whole time. I'm like, yeah. No. Duck that noise. Employees are either new hires or have been there for 15 plus years with no in between. There is no room for improvement, it's better to leave for advancement. There are 1 or 2 exceptions to this. I've been at companies where you have the 20 plus year veterans who love what they do and refuse to move up, so you have a young crowd before they move up and an old grizzled veteran crowd. I agree. I used to work at Xerox in one of their design and manufacturing centers, and nearly everyone I worked with had been there for 10 plus years, and many were there for 20 plus years. The pay was good, not great. Really good pension. The hours were great, early start, early out, especially nice in the summer with our long daylight hours. Hardly any overtime. Easygoing, flat org chart full of smart people, mostly engineers and designers. A jovial atmosphere. Basically, as I heard from many of my colleagues, it was a comfortable place to work, so no one had any desire to leave. It's too bad senior management shit the bed, got caught in an accounting scandal, had the stock price drop to below $4, and caused the layoffs of 40% of the worldwide employees. I have yet to find another company since that had that same combination of good pay and benefits, a great work environment where everyone is a valued member of the team, and where I can see myself working for 20 plus years. I currently work at Xerox as a field tech. The newest guy before me had worked there for 20 years. Some of my coworkers are pushing 35 years. My experience so far seems to match yours pretty well, even in today's day and age. HP field tech here. Same situation. There's guys retiring who have the same position as me. I could probably just do this job until I retire and be okay if I didn't want any kind of promotion or progression. But they have bought my loyalty during this pandemic. There were about 3 months last spring where I did virtually nothing and they paid me anyway. Can't say that about too many companies anymore. And hey, tell Xerox to knock it off with the hostile takeover shenanigans.